Here we come.
Here you come.
Yep. Paris 2024 Olympic Summary Podcast. I'm Steph. This is Dawn, and we're WT USAT Data and Facts. And like I just said, we're going to talk about the summary of the Paris 2024 Olympics. Very exciting. We got a medal. The venue was great. What do you think about the IVR? It was like the NFL. We could actually watch the replays. And
Yeah, so the venue, the Grand Palais, which had been renovated, first used 100 years ago at the Paris Olympics, and now renovated again 100 years later. They kept telling us it was 6,000 tons of steel holding up a glass roof. I don't know how many times I heard that, but it was too many times. But a beautiful venue.
It was beautiful.
Somewhere around 8,000. Didn't really look like 8,000, but they claimed 8,000 people in attendance. Most days it was jam full. Fantastic to see. The crowd looked knowledgeable. They were singing. The music was great.
It was very exciting. It was very
So
exciting.
the venue was spectacular. And the camera work, the camera locations and the
Yeah.
camera work was even better. The camera work is unbelievably good.
And even with the finals, semifinals, like the referees had body cams on, which was super
Body
cool.
cams.
Body
Imagine
cams.
that. What a great idea.
Yeah.
And how
Awesome.
are the uniforms?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Thank you, WT, for the black pants. The referees have black pants. I love it. They look so much better. It's so much more official. I think it's if you could just make them professional, that would be the next step. We'll talk about that later.
Yes,
maybe.
we will. And so,
but the black pants is a major step. Thank you very much. The
yeah,
white on white was just not cool.
not working.
No, but I love the white shirt and the black
Yeah.
pants. It's really flattering, and everybody looked really professional. And
Yeah.
overall, I thought the refs did a pretty good job. But we will talk about the exceptions.
Right. And the you talked about the cameras, and the cameras are also used, of course, for the IVR that Steph mentioned. We're outside, so we got a little bit of wind. So the audience, us, and the people in the arena on big screens could see their instant replay. It made all the difference in the world.
Very exciting.
Being able
that
to
needs
see
to
them,
happen all the time.
zoom in, change
Yeah.
orientation, change camera angles.
That was so cool.
Was fantastic.
Because it felt like we were part of the referees, like in a football game, you
Yeah.
could see everything, or a hockey game.
It was like a professional sport.
It was so well done.
So we love that.
Great job on the production. It was.
And I think
We need more of that.
that put extra pressure on the referee making a decision, knowing that everybody could
else
see
can
what
see
was
it
going
too.
on. Sometimes
it was
made
more transparent.
Yeah. What she said. And sometimes they took extra long when it was completely obvious, and other times they made a few boneheaded mistakes that we might talk about too. We'll get to there. So anyway, IVR was great. We talked about the venue. What about the
Our
athletes? Were
medals.
fantastic.
Congratulations, Christina Teachout, with your bronze medal. You worked your heart out. What did I say, Dawn? And the predictions? Who was right? I said, if Christina Teachout can get the eye of the tiger, she can medal.
Yes.
And she did. And she had the eye of the tiger. That girl, I swear to God, was so exciting to watch. She almost beat Viviana. That was, I'd say, one of the funnest matches to watch, her and Viviana Martin.
It sure was.
That was unbelievable. She won the first match, lost second round. She won the first round. I think it was like 5-3, something like that. She lost the second round, 10-9.
Yeah.
And then I forget what
The final was 10-16.
10-6. It was close, but it was a tough match. She fought her heart out, and my God, do more of that, Christina. That's my girl.
Yeah, that was unbelievable, fantastic.
But we need more punching. We'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about punching.
We'll talk about punching later.
So, let's talk about the other U.S. athletes that maybe mentioned some other countries.
CJ Nicholas. Faith Dillon, Jonathan Healy. You guys did a fantastic job. I'm really sorry KPNP was not working so well. We'll cover that later. You really had to adapt and conquer. It was a super huge challenge to the athletes. I've never seen KPNP work this poorly, and we have the data to back it up in comparisons with other previous KPNP high-end tournaments, don't we?
We sure did. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
We presented some of that data online. Now we're going to talk about it.
Yep.
So CJ got really burned. in the
Sure did.
semifinal,
Yep.
where he was fighting 7'11" or maybe 6'8". Firas Contusi, 176 pounds, if you can believe it. 6'8", 176 pounds, like CJ, who's like 6'2", in men's -80. And Contusi didn't let anybody score on him all day. Well, he let 6 points. He has 6 points against him total in 4 matches. Unbelievable.
Wow.
In CJ's match, the scores were 0-0 and 2-2. It should have been 2-3, favoring CJ, but the referee, there was a controversy at the end of that second round. It was tied 2-2. Firas Contusi had the advantage on touches, or maybe it was because he had a kick versus Gamjong, I forget. And we'll get to that, the priority. And Firas is turning and running away with a second left. It's part of a second. His foot steps down with half a second to go. Should have been a Gamjong. But in instant replay,
and this is
it should have been one. You're talking about a new rule.
I know.
So the referee in instant replay had his arm fully extended before Contusi. Before the timer ran out, exactly. But Contusi had not touched the ground yet. So apparently that's the way it works, is the referee fully extends his arm for Kallio
before the time
or the end of match. Doesn't matter what the time is, apparently, because he stepped out with half a second to go. And they didn't let it go, and they didn't play a third round, which they should have. CJ got a little bit robbed right there. It was too bad, but it was really the equipment that defeated CJ and other athletes, and we'll get to that.
Yeah. But he did fantastic.
He did.
And I think CJ's just getting started.
He is. He's coming. He's already said he's coming back for 28.
Yeah. This is my prediction. I see CJ getting more limber, further reach, and if it's possible, even quicker.
Stretching is a good thing.
Yep.
So other countries did really well as us, getting
Go
medals.
ahead and talk about how the other countries did.
Yeah, so Korea led the way with 2 golds and a bronze, so they got 3 medals. It was surprising they didn't get 4 medals because Seo Jeonwoo did not get a medal in -80, and I sure thought he was. But he didn't, again, because of equipment. He couldn't score. Second best guy in the world at scoring on the inside of the chest.
With Daedo.
And he couldn't score. With either equipment.
It's the sides of the...
Yeah, with either equipment.
And Daedo, that'll score. But
yeah, well, either equipment he always scores, but in this time it didn't. So that's an issue for the equipment. Iran, even though they only got 1 gold, they got 4 medals. A gold, 2 silver, and a bronze. Iran really kicked everybody, and they don't even, compete too much internationally. They even skip Grand Prix because of political issues. So Iran had a huge victory for them. China is the only other country who had 2 medals. They had a silver and a bronze, and nobody else got more than 1 medal, including us. So it's tough to medal at the Olympics. Good for USA, and good for the other countries that medaled, including Brazil and Canada in the Pan Americas. Also Cuba. So there's 4 countries in the Pan Americas that got bronzes. All 4 of those were bronzes. Way to go. Christina Teachout, Skylar Park, Edibel Pontes, and the really tall guy from Cuba, whose name will come back to me later.
You're better with names than I am. I don't remember.
Rafael Alba.
Good, nice job.
Came back to me.
Okay, very good.
So that's summarizing the medals.
Okay. All right, so next on my list, I want to talk about, it kind of bleeds into match 303, but we noticed that a lot of the commentators and some of the refs did not seem to know the hierarchy of a point tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So that's what the whiteboard is for, because how could they not know?
Yeah, the referee, especially in the morning, but even the knowledgeable people, I think his name is John Cullen and Milica Mandech, doing the quarterfinals and thereafter, they stumbled around and did not seem to, everybody seemed to rely on the number of hits. In a tie, you're going to win the round on the number of hits. No,
that's at the bottom.
Registrations. It's the last one. It's the last one.
So,
do you want to go through the list?
Yeah.
I'll take this card.
So, in case you don't know, I know a lot of people, you already know this. You're probably screaming with everybody else at some of the matches when the commentators were saying it was so-and-so's you got the match when, no, you don't. You don't have a spin kick, and he does. So anyway, spin kicks, spin head kicks. Trump spin chest kicks. Head kicks, spin chest kicks, trump head kicks. Head kicks, trump chest kicks. Chest kicks, trump punches, which is worth 1 point. Punches, which are worth 1 point. Trump a gamjong, which is also a penalty 1 point. And gamjongs trump hit registration touches, which are 0 points. But if there's none of this apply, then they'll go to registrations. Now, in the case of match 303, men's minus 80, which was Chile versus Korea.
It was the second round, yeah.
Yeah, second round. It was a tie. It was 16-16. Now, I think Chile had won the first round.
Yes.
So the second round was tied.
Korea had to win.
And Korea had 2 chest spin kicks
Yeah.
in the second round.
Yeah.
Chile only had 1 spin kick, but the referee called it for Chile. And the Korean coach did not have a card anymore because she lost it at the end of the first round. So what do you do? We've talked about this before on our podcast. What do you do when you don't have a card and the referee is making a wrong call, an incorrect call, and it's costing you the match? It would have been the end of the match. So good for her, and I thought she was very polite about it. She got up, and even Seo was like going like this, and his coach got up, walked down the ring, and was going up to the referee. He's like, no, 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 no. And they basically, she literally got their attention to let them know that they were incorrect and they messed up. And because Seo had 2 spin kicks, remember, spin kicks trump 1 spin kick. If you have 2 spin kicks, it's going to trump 1 spin kick.
Or if you have more points from spin kicks versus other spin kicks.
Correct.
So
it comes down to this hierarchy.
yes.
Just
And
like
so
I've got here.
their official explanation, World Taekwondo put out a statement, and they made an announcement in the arena at the time, that it was the system that was not set up correctly with this hierarchy. Basically, they are claiming that they hadn't set it up, that if you had 2 spin kicks or more points from spin kicks, you win. I'm not sure I believe that.
I don't believe that.
Somebody else suggested that they had mistakenly entered the last 2 points for Seo as something other than related to a spin kick.
Well, it was manually added because they had to. It was a end of the match. It was a turn kick.
Yes.
Got him in the chest. The guy went out.
There was a
match
review.
was over, and they had to manually add 2 more points.
Right.
So it wasn't tallied as a spin kick. They forgot to put it as a spin kick, which would have made it last. But because it was a spin kick, he won.
Right.
But they didn't. So it was a manual error on the referee's part, and good on his coach for calling him out. Although she was, they sent a statement to her chastising her for that you're not allowed to do that. And okay, well, I'm sorry, if I'm a coach and you mess up, and this is a freaking Olympics, and you're costing my athlete a match to go forward to was it quarterfinals or semifinals?
This was the round 16. This is preliminary.
Yeah, round 16 to go to the quarterfinals. I'm gonna make a fuss out of it, and I thought she was very polite about doing it. But what else you got? You only have 1 card, and she'd already played at the end of the first round.
Yeah. So well done, Seo Jeon-woo from Korea, because he scored 10 points in the last 13 seconds, including 2 spin back kicks, 2 turning back kicks that were 8 of the points, and the other 2 were gamjongs against the Chilean, who stepped out. And while he was stepping out, Seo nailed him with his heel before his foot hit the ground. So that was all proved in review. We watched this over and over 3 times to get the point sequencing
I was so confused by the end of it. My points wouldn't match up to the scores.
But we got it.
My tally. So I was like, Don, can you please go over this? I'm like, 3 rounds. I watched 3 times to try to get everything to match up. The attempted punches versus awarded punches, rejections versus awarded protests, and just because we tally everything. So it was just was that match overwhelmed me.
Yeah.
But you know what? We learned a lot, and I hope that everyone else did too. And it's a major issue if they can't figure out the referees, and the referees were better than the commentators. The commentators didn't seem to know this.
The guy in the morning knew nothing.
No, it was kind of pathetic. But
yeah, he was a good speaker. He was okay for a color commentator, but he actually knew nothing about the rules. So, should we talk about the system, the KPNP?
Yes, KPNP system analysis.
Okay.
Don has a story to tell because the data tells a story, doesn't it?
The data always tells some sort of story. It's up to the analyst to interpret the data and come up with observations and conclusions. And I'm going to do that to you right now. I'm going to do it right at you.
Once upon a time.
Once upon a time. So, how was the overall scoring at this Olympics versus other major events? And other major events would be like the Grand Prix final or a Grand Prix where the top athletes in the world gather to compete. Not like a G1 or G2 or even like a Continental Championship, because that excludes all kinds of people.
But G6 or above.
Yeah, so G6 Grand Prix or G10 Grand Prix final versus the Olympics.
Yes.
Okay. So these Olympics, and there's two different systems, KPNP and Daedo. So the overall scoring, and we watched every match. We recorded the scores for every match in all 8 divisions. And so we know the total scoring. So these Olympics, the average scoring for KPNP in Paris versus the October Grand Prix last year in Taiwan, China, was 17% lower. So total scoring was 17% down, which everybody kind of noticed. Wow, there's very little scoring at times. There were 0-0 matches and all that. And even compared to Daedo, the Manchester Grand Prix final last December, the Daedo system worked fabulously, even better than it ever has. And it's actually kind of funny to see that these Olympics, the scoring was 74% higher at the Manchester Grand Prix using Daedo. It was fun to watch because there was tons of scoring. There were matches with scores over 100 points in a 3-round match. There were 2 of them. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. These Olympics weren't as much fun because scoring was very, very difficult. Would you like to know how difficult?
How difficult, Don?
The scoring was very difficult.
I know, I watched it.
We've looked at each division and the type of scoring from Paris versus another data set we had that was the next best data set with the same quality of data, and it's from the Grand Prix final from 2022 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Okay, so
yeah,
go by start with each division.
Okay.
Which division?
Okay, so this is the story.
Okay.
Once upon a time, at the Paris Olympics of the Taekwondo competition.
Okay.
On day 1, in men's 58, the men's 58 are the best chest kickers in the world. They are better than any other division, and they score the most.
This based on data.
Based on data.
Prior data.
At Riyadh, they averaged 8.3 body kicks per match. Here, 5. That's a big difference.
That's total between the 2 athletes.
Yeah. And another factoid about the men's 58 is that they're the most efficient punchers in all the divisions. They don't actually punch that often, but when they do, it scores. It's the only one where historically about 2/3 of their punches score. What was happening here? Almost no punching was scoring. So that was a big red flashing light. Chest scoring's down and they're not awarding punches. So what do you have to do?
Go the head.
You go to the head. And so they did.
Off with the head.
Off with the head. They ended up scoring more head scores, and all of a sudden they also noticed that not all the head kicks were scoring.
No, the head
so they protested.
Protest.
They protested way more than normal, 1.5 times per match versus only 0.6 times per match in the past at Riyadh. So that's more than double the amount of protests. And oh, by the way, more than half of them are awarded because of this high quality IVR.
Yeah.
So
transparency.
There was more head scoring, but not enough because the helmets still weren't working that well. Yeah, you can see that in the replays.
Yeah, we actually recorded several videos where, it's supposed to be if it touches the nose or the chin and it's not touching the helmet, that's what the protest card is for, because KPNP and the helmets are supposed to be so good. If you touch the helmet, it's supposed to score. No, not at all.
Yeah.
We have several videos where the review showed it could clearly whacked the head quite hard.
Yeah.
And no score.
So also on day one is the 49 women. And the 49 women are the best head kickers in the world.
Yep.
They're super limber, they're super tall relative to their weight, and they live and die by head kicks. Their chest kicks were also down, just like the men's, the lightweight men 58, and their punching was not scoring. Some of them try a lot of punching, and it's not as powerful as the men, but usually it kind of scores. This time did not score. And overall head kicks were also down, but protests awarded were up. So same kind of theme on day one.
Because it wasn't working.
Let's go to day two.
Day two.
Day two, everybody's observed this. All the coaches are paying close attention.
Yeah.
Advising their athletes.
Shit's not working.
That's what they
what
said.
What do you do?
That's what they said.
Go to the head.
In all kinds of languages. All kinds of languages. Day two, women's 57, exact same thing. Half of the chest scoring is normal. Virtually no punches being awarded. But they went to the head and they got more head kicks. And they had pretty good return on the protests. The men's 68, well, there's Bradley Sinden in men's 68, and he could still score to the body because he's the world's best at scoring to the body. He and the fellow from Croatia had a really good match, really high scoring, but it was virtually the only one. So same trends on day number two. Again, very little punching, body kicks aren't really scoring, especially for some divisions, and head kicks are up and protests awarded are up. Day three, exact same thing. Men's minus 80. Men's minus 80 are the second best after the 58s at scoring to the body.
Yep.
Again, almost fell in half. They went to the head, scored more, but they didn't get the protest awards for some reason. And their punching was virtually ignored, almost totally ignored.
Yeah.
The women, 67, the chest kicks were about average. Head kicks were up because everybody knew they had to go to the head, and they really scored on positive protest awarded. Almost all the protests were awarded to the positive for 67. And again, punching, ignore the punching. So day four, the heavyweights, everybody knows this. And what do the men do?
What, the heavyweights?
Yeah, what do the heavyweight men do? They say, hold my beer. I'm going to show you some punching. They went bananas. Some of the guys went bananas with punching.
Cece's a great puncher.
Cece's a great puncher. He scored like one punch out of about 15. Richard Orteman moved up from minus 80, and he's a good puncher from Norway. He threw 20 punches in his match against Croatia. Zero approved. So Arian Salimi, who's from Iran, and it's a big part of his game to throw big, heavy punches. He threw big, heavy punches, over 20 total in his matches, and he got 4. Those 4 beat Carlos Sensoris in a match, in the quarterfinal. The punches beat him. And then in the final, he said he tried the punching, but he used it just to get in close to Caden Cunningham. Then he would grab Caden Cunningham's Hogu, and then he'd swing up his leg and kick him in the head. So he had a lot of head kicks against Caden, and that's how he won the gold medal. So head kicks are important in men's heavyweight and female heavyweight.
So I have to say about the men's heavyweight, it was usually they're just kind of not doing anything. They're just kind of dancing around, not kicking. There's usually not a lot of activity in the heavyweights. Oh, there was a lot of activity at the Olympics. This was, I thought, the best heavyweight category I've ever seen. Yeah. It was very active. It was fun to watch. Probably because the equipment wasn't working, so they were a little more desperate to score. But
and it's too bad they didn't show the heights and actual weights of these guys. All it says is plus 80, which is plus 176 pounds. Sansoris is probably 100 pounds over that.
He's like over 300 pounds.
He's pushing 300 probably. He sure looks like it. They can barely tie the size 5 vest.
He's thick, yeah.
Very thick, man, but he's still agile. Still agile.
Yeah, he can push.
The guy from Niger is 6'9". The guy from Cuba, we've already talked about, Rafael Alba, 6'7" or 6'8". Arian Salimi, 6'6" from Iran, who won the gold medal. Jonathan Healy's either 6'5" or 6'6", and these guys are all like 250 pounds. They're giants compared to everybody else in Taekwondo. Even though in men's minus 80, there's a bunch of tall guys, really tall, skinny guys. If you're not, 6'3", 6'4", you really don't have much of a chance in -80. But in heavyweights, they're massive and big and tall, and those are the guys that usually win the medals.
All right, let's get to the women.
And it was young guys.
Did you talk about the heavyweight women and the call with France?
We'll come back to the ages. Okay,
No,
yes.
heavyweight women.
Heavyweight women.
France.
Yeah, disappointing.
Okay, I gotta say one thing about this.
Go ahead.
Ref. Ref 25.
Apparently it's from Panama.
I
So
don't care where she's from. She made
Yeah.
some pretty bad calls that cost athletes a medal.
Uzbekistan in particular. In the women's heavyweight final, plus 67, it's France, hometown Paris, in Paris. Huge Les Bleus
Right,
fan
just get to the point
crowds.
because we know it's France. It's
Yeah.
Paris. Go
Okay,
ahead.
well, that's part of it.
She
isn't
was
it?
France, yeah.
There's hometown advantages in a lot of
Well, it
events.
seemed biased, but anyway, there's a pattern because
There's been
it
a
happened
pattern in
the same-
Taekwondo. So, anyway, the heavyweight final is France against Uzbekistan, who's a total headhunter. Real headhunter, Svetlana Osipova. No scoring in the first round except Althea Loren from France does what looks like a little bit of a face kick, and on protest it's awarded. So 3-0. Her only points, 3-0 from protest. Second round, there's no scoring right up to the last second. In the last second, there's 2 scores, apparently. Although really it's just 1 score. Svetlana Osipova slashes up to Lauren's head, scores a clear head kick, it registers 3-0. 1 second left. She actually makes sort of a mistake to turn to her coach and say sort of yay, and that gives Lauren an advantage to move in and strike out with her leg. She reaches out and reaches out. The clock goes to 0.0. She's still reaching out, and then she touches the face, the nose, or whatever, the lips of Osipova after 0.0. Long, not that even long delay. The referee, who we think might have been this referee because it looked like it.
It was.
It could have been referee number 1 from Egypt.
No.
But we're not sure. Probably was this
25.
referee.
It was 25.
Okay. And very kind of quickly says, good. And everybody in the crowd, everybody around the world watching sees 0.0 on the clock before there's a touch.
It didn't touch.
So they should have explained the scoring system, and maybe it's super accurate, the Omega scoring system, and it measures down to the thousandths of a second, although I highly doubt it. It's probably just to the 100th of a second. And they should have said, oh, by 1/100th of a second, Althea Loren touched just before.
I think what we saw on the screen is what they're seeing on their screen.
Yeah.
It's a projection.
So it looked like 0-0. France was awarded,
was.
and it was, again, a timing issue versus a kicking issue. And similar to CJ's match against Tunisia, there should have been a third round.
Yeah.
Should have been a
And
third
this
round.
one, and was it the same for match 303? Was it the same referee that made that call too? About the.
I don't think so, but I don't know. There was another bad call on instant replay, and it was a round 16 match in men's 58 between Omar Salim of Hungary and California versus Lucas Guzman from Argentina, where in the second round, Guzman is falling out of bounds. He actually falls to the ground. His whole forearm, hand to elbow, is on the ground. He swings his leg up and maybe touches Omar Salim just barely, maybe.
Match 117. That's
But
the
you
one.
can see on the
That was the same ref.
Yeah.
25, 117.
see the instant replay on the ground. His arm is on the ground. Obviously should not have counted. Thumbs up, protest accepted, 5 points. So bad call. That was rare. The referees for the most part were excellent, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's the story.
Do you have anything else to add?
Overall?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Let me
That's all I got on my list. I know you.
let me look at my list. Oh, the ages of athletes.
Oh, okay.
Let's summarize the
That's
ages.
good. All right. Do you
So-
want some of this at all?
Sure. The female athletes, the medal winners, overall for all 4 weight divisions and all 4 medalists, the average age was 23.1. 23.1 for the medalists. Being over 27 was rare to medal. Panapak is 27, is now retired. There'll be a new gold medalist in Los Angeles. She retired. She's back-to-back gold medalist. She's 27. She medaled in 3 Olympics in a row. Lots of teenagers, including
Viviana.
Viviana and Teach Out.
Yep. Both 18.
And Heirarchy in
She's 19.
women's 67. Yeah. So the youngest division overall in the entire Olympics was females minus 67. They averaged 19.3 years. The oldest division, if we can even find one, the oldest division is actually female heavyweights, 25 and a half average age. Men's heavyweight was 24 and a half, even though
Caden's what, 19?
Yeah. No, Caden was 20.
Oh, that's right. And the other guy
Cunningham's 21, Salimi's 20,
20.
And the other two guys were 30. So they averaged 25.3. Men overall averaged 23.6 years old. So this might factor into athletes who are now 25, 26. They aren't world medalists. Maybe they didn't medal at the Olympics. 4 more years, that would put them at 29, 30. So unless you've been, like, I don't know, a serious world medalist or an Olympic medalist in the last cycle or two, and you're 25, 26 years old, not so sure you're going to do well in the next Olympics.
Well, that sounds kind of a downer. Let's prove it wrong.
There's going to be a lot of juniors,
Prove it wrong.
a lot of juniors from today,
Yep.
and cadets aged 14 who will be 18 in
Yep.
Los Angeles. A bunch of them are going to medal. Some of them are going to win golds from around the world. So USA, you got to look at the juniors, got to look at cadets, form a new program,
Yep.
keep our top athletes going,
It's a pipeline.
give them some competition, and let's go.
Yep. Now, somebody asked about heights, and I didn't think that data was available, but you found some data.
Yeah, I found some data for gold medalists.
Okay.
So I'm going to go off the top of my head. So Panapak in female 58 is 5'8", and she wasn't the tallest. She was 5'8". In women's minus 57, they really skyrocket. The Korean was about 6'1". She beat Zhongxi Luo from China, who's 6 feet, and Faith Dillon, who's 5'8" or 9, was kind of dwarfed by the woman from Tunisia, I believe she was. So you got to be really tall if you want to compete at 127 pounds, which is what female minus 57 is. Female minus 67, a little bit different story.
Yeah,
More muscle mass, more speed,
Yep.
more muscle, more power. Like Christina Tishout, who's like maybe 5'8". I'm not even sure she's 5'8".
I don't think she is. I think she's.
Yeah, maybe with sneakers on, she's 5'8".
She's probably 5'. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
And Viviana Martin's about the same height.
Yeah.
But then there's Heirarchy, who's like 6'2".
That's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So next is female plus 67. Back up to tall people. Althea Lorraine is 6'2". And the
what weight class is she?
This is plus 67
Plus
women's
60,
heavyweight.
okay.
A lot of them are like 6 feet tall or taller. And the Svetlana Sopova, who's the slasher from Uzbekistan, is about 5'11". So really tall, really strong, really fast. Men's minus 58. He's apparently 5'11". Park Tae-jun from Korea is apparently 5'11". And there's other guys like Jindubi from Tunisia, who's like 6'1". Rashidov from Uzbekistan in men's 68 is 6'1" and has incredible balance, reach, and speed and quickness.
What weight class? 15?
In men's 68.
60. Okay.
Men's minus 80, they start to get super tall, super big. Katusi, as we talked about, 6'8". A bunch of guys, 6'4", 6'5". And the CJ, of course, is 6'2", and he looks really short. Men's plus 80, giants, we talked about it. 6'3" and up. 230 to 300 pounds. So you got to be really big.
Salto is
Jonathan Healy, as far as I know, is the only guy in the States who's in that category.
Yeah.
We got to get some guys interested in Taekwondo who are really big.
There used to be that guy in WCAT that was like 7'1", and then I think he quit during COVID. I don't remember his name. Summer trained with him.
Yeah, I don't remember his name either. He beat Stephen Lambden, actually, and gave Jonathan Healy a good match. Yeah. And he'd only been doing Taekwondo for like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Because he was really a red belt that you just say, okay, he's black belt.
So they... Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So...
All right, what else you got?
Oh, that's height and ages. What else have I got? Oh, yeah, who was the dominant gold medalist? Who was the best of the best?
Based on what?
Based on what? We got 8 of them.
Okay.
We've got rounds won and lost.
What's the data that you're going to evaluate that on?
I've got their records.
Okay.
They all went 4-0, because that's the only way you win a gold medal. You win 4 matches to 0, because you can't lose anything. And so, how many rounds did they win? And how many did they lose? They had to win 8 rounds to win.
Yep.
Did some of them go 8-0? Yes, 3 went 8-0. Even Panapak didn't. She went 8-1. She lost a round. As did Eugene Kim from Korea in women's 57. Viviana Martin lost 2 rounds. One famously to Christina Ticha.
Yep.
And another one to Ruth Bagby in her very first match. So it was very tight. She was, fortunate to proceed. So the 3 people who won 8-0 were Althea Loren, women's heavyweight, Ulugbek Rashidov in men's 68, and Faris Katusi in men's -80. The heavyweight guy was 8-3, so push him to the side. Now we look at points scored versus against, and the ratio there. So the most points scored was by the Korean guy, but he really piled on in the final match against the Azerbaijani guy who was injured. He scored over 20 points in the last round, and at the very end, they say the Azerbaijani withdrew, but there's only a few seconds left, and he couldn't get up, so he technically withdrew. But there was over 20 points on the board against him.
Didn't he, technically Gamjang out?
Maybe he did. I forget. It was, so sad to watch, and the crowd wasn't really into it because Park from Korea kept on kicking him out of bounds, and the guy was obviously in huge pain. So anyway, that was the most points. But a key thing is the least amount of points scored. Because if nobody can score on you, that's better than scoring a ton of points. So again, 2 people were really close to the least amount of points. Again, Althea Loren, women's heavyweight, only 12 points scored against her because women's heavyweight isn't really fast moving and, not a lot going on. Men's 68, where there's a lot going on, Ulugbek Rashidov, who was never threatened to not win the gold medal, only 15 points scored against him. Faris Katusi, as I've said, only 6 points. The guy only scored 28 points, was the least of any gold medalist by far, but only 6 points against him. That gives him an 82% ratio of points for versus against total. Excellent. That's the highest.
Yep. Okay, so
he's number 1.
Yep.
I'd say Rashidov's number 2. Loren's number 3, even though I don't want to say that. And Park Tae-jun is in there too. So that's the best gold medalist at this Paris Olympics.
Excellent.
That's it for me.
All right. That's all I got.
That's all you got?
All right.
Did you enjoy it?
I did.
Was it the best Olympics ever?
It was the best Olympics ever. Well, I didn't watch really
for Taekwondo.
For Taekwondo, it was by far the best.
Yeah.
Olympics.
Yeah.
Even with KPNP. You see, this is how these are the best of the best of the athletes. They conquered and they adapted and they conquered. And that's what you got to do. Like you said, punches aren't worth scoring. And I have to say, it was almost like the referees got a memo to not score punches, not award punches. So I've never seen anything like that before.
Right. I think they did.
Why? Okay.
And one more thing.
I got one more.
I got one more thing too. While
it's
you're
called
writing.
Tai.
Oh yeah, good for this. Listen to this.
Kwan.
No. That's good.
Do.
Yeah.
This Olympics took this out.
Yeah.
It was Daedo, not Taekwondo.
Excellent.
Why the hell would the referees not award the Kwan? The Kwan.
They can't do this. It has to be like this.
I'm fist bumping here.
Yeah. Okay. One other thing. If you want to hear me talk for another 2 hours and 4 podcasts.
We need to wrap it up.
There were 4 Taekwondo podcast with Cesar Valentine after each day in the Olympics.
Yes.
Please go to Cesar Valentine's
what's his
Taekwondo podcast.
Yep.
It's the Taekwondo podcast.
Yep.
And you can find it on YouTube, I believe.
And the podcast app.
Yeah, on the podcast app. And we talked after each day, reviewing the results of each day. A lot of these things we're saying here by me, and a lot of stuff by him, where he's got some different opinions. Want to hear some different opinions? Go listen to Cesar. He's an excellent guy. He's a 7th Dan.
He's a
hugely
grandmaster.
important, very well connected to everybody in Europe. He has an athlete going to the Paralympics in Taekwondo. Good for you, Cesar. We'll see you soon.
Excellent. All right. Jones out.
Lewis out.
Here, take that.
It'll be a while.